Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your host.
Welcome to the Do Good X podcast. My name is Stephen Lewis, and I am a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses. And for over 2 decades, I have inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose, with intention, with faith, and a commitment to the well-being. And I'm joined here today with my colleague, Kimberly Dane. Hey, Kimberly.
Hi, Stephen, and hello, everyone who is tuning in. My name is Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, a coach, and communication strategist who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us all to contribute to the common good. So today, we are going to dive into a topic that I am often having conversations about with organizations in general and founders. And that is a conversation around marketing. So many entrepreneurs, especially when they are just getting started, think that marketing equals social media, especially when they don't have somebody on their team with expertise or knowledge in this area. And for many founders who are starting solo, it's just you. If you don't come with this area of expertise, this is a conversation that could be really helpful for your entrepreneurial journey, because it's so much bigger than social media. It's how you deliver and share your business, your product, your services story with your audience, and how you build trust and move people to action. And a big action is purchasing what it is that you offer. So it's really a strategic approach to reach the people that are or will be your customers or supporters. Social media, it can be super valuable, but it's just one tool in the toolkit, just one.
Yeah, and I think, at the end of the day, marketing is really about how do you talk to your tribe? How do you talk to your cheerleaders? How do you talk to the people who are most invested in your product or service, or that you want to be engaged and interested in your product or service? So when you are thinking about marketing for your business, we first have to think about some basic important elements. And there's 4 that I want to go over: brand, storytelling, audience, and a call to action. So the first one, brand, really gets at what are the words that you use, the values that you stand for, and for your purpose, which will inform what you share with others. The next one is storytelling. What is the story of your business? What is it that the problem that you're trying to solve? What is it that why you're invested in this particular product or service and think that it is valuable for others to pay attention to? Really trying to get at the actually storying of your actual business. The third one is audience. Who is your audience? What pain point are you addressing for them? And what ways might you connect with them that resonates? And so thinking about your audience is really important. So as you think about this, oftentimes we think about your primary or your secondary or your tertiary audience. And sometimes we get that confused, right? So we might be trying to build a business that really is in service to young adults, but it really is their parents who actually are doing the purchasing. So then how do you think about those audience, that primary and second audience really close? But the point is paying attention to your audience. And then the last one is call to action. And that really deals with what action do you want people to take when you reach them and compel them to act. So when they see your brand online, when they see it in word of mouth campaigns, when they see it in other kind of public spaces, what do you want people to feel? More importantly, what is it that you want them to do? Do you want them to purchase? Do you want them to be educated? Do you want them to learn something and then make a decision about what they want to do? So really thinking clearly about that is important. And if you can answer these questions, the channels you use to connect with your audience should be more clear, whether that's social media, an email, or partnerships or events. And you'll see where your audience is and what outlets is most effective for your messages and your business.
Yeah, I find that a lot of folks go straight to the channels. They go straight to the channels. But what you laid out, Stephen, are some really valuable questions for you founders to consider, your teams to consider before you even move to the channels. Because just like you said, these elements will inform what channels are best for your particular customer, best for your particular business, depending on the field that you're in. It's not a one size fits all. And so it's really important to start with those foundational questions. And there are so many channels. It's always good to diversify your marketing efforts and not put all your eggs in one basket. So if you do find that social media is a channel that could be effective for your business, also consider what other channels can be a good avenue for connecting with the people that you want, your customers or your supporters, whatever that might look like for your particular business. Stephen mentioned some of those. There's tons more, whether that's your website, whether those are ads, video, connecting with an influencer, podcast, direct mail, webinars, blogs, the list goes on. And while some channels can seem to be outdated, they actually work well for some organizations, whereas for others, it may not work so well. Again, it starts with those foundational questions, and that will inform what you can do next. It's important for you to get clear about what fits your business best and what fits your audience best. Listen to your customers, listen to your audience. So, if you do focus again on social media and you find that that's effective, it's also important to consider, well, what platforms. You can't just say social media in general, or I don't advise you to hop on what is trendy at the time if you don't know that your audience is on that platform. And so, you really have to do some work to get clear about your message, get clear about who you want to reach, get clear about all of those questions, and get clear about what platform houses or attracts your customers and could yield the result that you want with the level of engagement you might get with your audience and how you might call them to act. In any case, whatever platform you use, you should be clear about how you will measure success of your efforts. And don't get caught up in vanity metrics. There can be value in looking at, the data around likes, followers, and views. There's value in that for sure, depending on how you look at those numbers and what those numbers translate into. However, it's important to look beyond those numbers to see if it's actually converting into the calls to action that you want to have, the impact that you want to make, if your story is resonating with people or not. Look at those conversions, because at the end of the day, you don't just want to put your business out there just to put it out there. There's some next step that you're looking for customers to make or supporters to make. And you want to make sure the efforts you're putting out there through your marketing match the results that you are experiencing.
Wow. Yeah, that's really good. And take it from me, you are hearing like wise wisdoms from a consummate marketing communication professional. Kimberly has done this work for many years and has helped many brands and organizations and individuals who are really trying to level up their game for marketing. So, Kimberly, that's a really great list of insight and wisdom that you offered to that. So, one of the things I want to take just a moment is to think about what marketing efforts have we seen that work well. So, sometimes it's good to see an example of marketing efforts that might inspire you. So I want to take just one as an example, namely Apple. I think through the years, Apple has done a wonderful job in thinking about its customer and thinking about its user experience and thinking about the creative ways in which they advertise to their actual customers, whether it be on the channel of television, or it may be on the channel of social media, or it may be in some other format. And in this particular case, for those of you who have kids and are returning back to school, Apple's always promoting some type of educational discount around their computers. But, many years ago when Apple was starting out, what they were was really was the competitor to the PC and really trying to make computing accessible for personal use. And then it moved to this point of thinking about the person that is on the go. So they were thinking about their audience. That first audience was really thinking about people who may not be in business but want all the power of business, but they want it for like personal uses with regards to creativity and artistic expression and music, etc. And so Apple tried to attend to that audience. And then they moved from, well, people are no longer just sitting in front of a laptop or a desktop computer. How do we think about the everyday kind of commuter that's moving about in their daily lives? So they really kind of thought about audience. And then their brand. Their brand is one of simplicity. And they think about kind of clean looks of their brand, not just in their products, but even to their packaging and the ways in which they tell their story around that. So, they're very clear on their idea about who their audience is, the story that they try to tell with their audience for everyday use, the integration of the ways in which their audience gets to use their products, from their business use to their personal use to their recreational entertainment use. Those are all things that I think are really important. And then their call to action really is to purchase an environmental friendly conscious product. All products have some issue if you're talking about the supply chain on a global level, but they really try to think about kind of these recycled products that they've created that are sleek and are very user friendly and that are seek to be at least environmental friendly. So that's just one example of a brand that kind of walks through those four things that we've been talking about. Kimberly, what would you say?
Yeah, that's good. Well, first of all, Stephen, thank you so much for your kind words. And I do think Apple is a really good example. No matter if you are an iPhone user or an Apple, whether you are an Apple user or you go to Samsung or you go to whatever you might do, I think hands down, everybody can probably say Apple does well when it comes to storing and marketing their products. So I think that's a great example. I'm going to give a bit of a different example from a nonprofit side, which is Charity Water. And Charity Water, they believe that everyone should have access to clean water. And so they help to bring water to different areas, working with people within the context of those communities to do the work themselves. And so what I like about Charity Water is that they have powerful stories. They share really powerful stories connecting to the problem that the organization addresses. And that is so important, knowing the problem that you're addressing for your particular audience. And they're not just telling that story. The people that they are working with, the people that they are positively impacting, they're the ones that are telling the story. You're not just hearing from the organization. And I think that's very important as well. They know their audience. They know what moves people to action. If you were to look at Charity Water, they have different approaches to how they communicate their message, whether it's from, making it clear that everyone should have access to clean water in some evocative type image or a short ad, or whether it's hearing stories from people in the community who didn't have water until others in the community came in and built these wells and gave them access, and what that has changed in their lives. Mm-hmm. So it's, they do a really good job using this all with the intention to not just share these stories, but to get support, to get people to act and to donate. And I would say the other thing that I think is really important, I love stories, and I think marketing communication is pretty much all grounded in being clear about your story. And what I also appreciate about Charity Water is that they're transparent. They know what the word charity brings up for some folks these days. Going into communities that you're not a part of and putting a Band-Aid on something. And so they address that directly. They know that people have issues with the word some people have issue with the word institutions. They name that directly. And so what I also appreciate is that they're very transparent with the pushback around the perception of certain language in certain fields. And they just address that directly. And they say, look, we understand this, but this is our story, and we want you to be a part of this story. And so they also try to shift the narrative. So they're clear about their audience. They're clear about the problem they address. They share their story in various ways, and they have a clear call to action. And those pieces are all very important. So, I always find that practical next steps are so important with, really bringing these conversations to the ground. It's like, what can I do? What is one step that I can take in my work and in my business toward, making it better around marketing? And so we want to leave you with some practical next steps. So if you are a social entrepreneur in the early stages of your business, if you have funds to hire a marketing expert, then do that. But if you do not, and this is something that you're just thinking about yourself or with your team, the first thing you want to do is define your brand. Why does your business exist? What problem does it solve? And what makes it distinct? There's a lot more that you can get into when it comes to defining your brand, but I encourage you to first think about those 3 questions. The second thing, define your audience and your message. Who is your audience? Now, understand that you might be trying to reach a whole bunch of people, but everybody may not be for your business. So be very clear. Who is your audience? Who is your audience? Is it in a particular age range? Is it a particular race or ethnicity? Is it a particular gender? What type of person is it? Be clear about who your audience is. And what message do you want to share with your audience? The third thing, determine your call to action. What do you want your audience to do, feel? What do you want your audience to do or feel? Or maybe even think? And this is, again, something that Stephen mentioned earlier. And then the last piece, figure out where your audience hangs out. Start with 1 to 2 channels, commit to showing up, and pay attention to what's working and adjust as you go. So those are 4 steps that you can take towards your particular efforts. What's key is taking these small steps, being clear about what it is that you're communicating, being consistent, and over time, building momentum with what it is that you choose to do. As it pertains to marketing, this conversation, there's so much here. It really intersects with the conversation about branding and storying and communications channels. And there's so much more. However, we'll leave room to explore more in future episodes where you can get additional insights and practical steps. Stephen, is anything else you might add?
No, I think those are all good points to ponder and to reflect on and to think about how you take those practical next steps into your own business. And so if today's episode sparked some ideas for you and you're wanting more support for your entrepreneurial journey, head over to dogoodx.org. Here you can explore more resources and learn about programs designed specifically to support purpose-driven founders like you.
Thank you all for joining us, and we hope that you gain some insights from this conversation, or at least one question, one thing that you can consider in your next step. We look forward to you joining us again next time. And until then, be well and do good.
Good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.